Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert with the Ted Show. We are back. I'm with Scott Kyle, who is, wow, you got to look up his resume to know all of the things he's done, where he's been, what TV, what productions. You're an award-winning actor and artistic director, and I am just excited to listen to you speak with that accent for 30 minutes. So welcome to the show, Scott.
Thanks for having me. I hope you and the audience watching can understand me with my broad Scottish accent.
I have no doubt we will be good. All right, so they love origin story. So you're not going to tell them you were born in America, obviously. So give us a little background on you.
Well, I'm born and bred in Glasgow, so that's a city in Scotland. I'm a very proud Glaswegian, as we're known as, and I've been born and bred in a town called Rutherglen, and that's where I still live today with my wife. So
with your wife?
Yes. So she's in the back garden just now, and she's got specific instructions not to come through those doors.
That's all right. She can come through those doors. All right. So tell us a little bit about your career. You are, and well, I'll let you tell. You tell better than me. I can give you all the fan base stuff, but I'd rather hear it from you.
Well, my first disclaimer is I normally say to folk, people say, "Oh, so you're an actor?" And I say, "Sometimes yes, mostly not." Right? And the reason we say that is, job in acting, it's a very funny. A friend of mine said it's not a career; it's a succession of jobs. You do one project and you move on and you move on. People watching just now, the biggest TV show or project that I've worked on is Outlander, which I'm sure a lot of your viewers would have heard of and know about. And I played Ross the Smith in it in season 2. And the thing when I've done lots of different projects, I've made movies, I've worked in television in the UK, and I've worked in theatre. And when people ask me what's my favourite project is, it's difficult to say because everyone means so much to you. But what I would say with Outlander is it's shone a light on my whole career. So in 2015, I made a war movie with the producers of The King's Speech. So I was very fortunate to be on set with the Academy Award winners. And we filmed a British war movie. It was a true story, and we filmed it in Jordan. So we filmed in Jordan for 6 weeks, and they brought the Oscar on set. So the standards were set, and the great thing with Outlander is that people now know about that movie in the States. It's called Kilo 2 Bravo in the States. In the UK, it's called Kijaki, and that's the name of the area where the true story took place. And it was the story of British paratroopers who were trapped in a minefield. And they were rescued by American soldiers, came and rescued them. It's an incredible true story if anyone wants to Google it, the Kijaki story or Kilo 2 Bravo. It's on Netflix if anybody wants to watch it.
I saw it tagged on one of your pages. Trish Margaret says, "Hey Scott, sorry about the Kingston fling, but we will see you soon. You're so busy with interviews. Your charity work is amazing."
Oh, that's very nice of them. But that's folk that have been supporting me for a long time. So one of the amazing things with a project like Outlander is I always say to folk, as a theatre actor, a performer, you can go to the Edinburgh Festival, the biggest arts festival in the world, and you can perform to very small crowds, and there'll be amazing actors that will go to that festival and never be recognised. And the nice thing with Outlander is it's catapulted myself and the rest of the cast into this global audience of amazing people throughout the world. And for me, theatre and storytelling and working in the industry is a very spiritual process of sharing stories. You know, you share stories. So I love meeting up with the people that have watched you on screen and sharing stories and hearing a bit about them and yeah, opening up and getting into their world and letting them into my world when we're off screen. You know, because without those people watching and supporting the projects, we wouldn't have an entertainment industry without an audience.
Absolutely. Mary Lynn says, "Loved you in Outlander." All right, so I have to ask about your charity work, though. You're doing a lot of, you obviously are an award-winning artistic director, and I want to get back to that in a minute. But I want to find out, what are you doing during COVID to keep up your acting? Because it hasn't opened up yet, although I hear people are starting to come back together for productions. What have you done to stay creative?
Well, it's very interesting. Before the lockdown, I had a new movie that I was going to be filming in March. When I finished the movie, I was going on to do a theatre show that was rehearsing in April and touring in May. And I had my flings, which you've heard some of the folk mention about. We were doing flings all around the world, doing workshops. I was working with 2 different theatre schools, teaching in Edinburgh at the Edinburgh Theatre School and the Edinburgh Acting School as well. So all of that has disappeared overnight with COVID, and it's left me with. I'm working with a local charity at the moment, and it's supporting folk that maybe can't get out of their own house or can't look after themselves. So going for shopping and doing stuff like that. I'm doing that a few days a week, and I'm really enjoying that. But one of the big things is I've purposely not did a lot of interviews. I've not done a lot of live streaming of workshops or performances or anything. And the reason with that was my wife and I have been so busy since Outlander, essentially. For the past 4 years, we've been all over the world. We say yes to a lot of things that probably more sensible people would say no to. We've got a very crammed diary because if someone's kind enough to invite us, we like to go and support it. So during the lockdown, I've tried to leave the phone off and actually focus on spending time with Karen, my wife, my long-suffering wife. So we've done a lot of gardening. I'm learning a lot of new skills. I'm learning gardening skills, which I normally palm off to someone else. I'm learning how to cook as well. We're making meals, nice fresh meals. We've repurposed a lot of the slabs in our back garden, totally rearranged that. And Karen's been decorating the rooms in the house as well. So I've been partially picking up a paintbrush, but I've actually enjoyed the lockdown in the sense that it's a forced clearing of the diary. And right. like today we went for a cycle. So now I'm normally too busy to have free time to go for a 2-hour cycle. So it's really, really nice that now during this, kind of this challenging period where everyone wants to stay home and only exercise when you go out, we're going, you know what, we look forward to going out on our bikes. So we're discovering local parks that we never knew existed in our local area, the sort of places we've drove past but never went in. Today we drove up to a place called Fernbray. So it's a big giant field basically. So we're going through it on our mountain bikes. So that's been fun.
You've kept the reset's been good for you.
Mm-hmm, yes,
the reset's been good.
And obviously, I'm disappointed. Obviously, I want to be on set making a movie. I want to be on stage performing. I want to be going to the theatre schools and working with the kids. But at the same time, it's nice to refocus on my wife, giving her my attention, and also just taking a break. When the universe sends you a wee break and you've got to take some time out, I think I don't want to start filling my day with scheduled too much. That's why when you asked, obviously, when the TED show invites you on, you don't turn it down.
Oh, you're very sweet. You've got people. Aaron Arnett says, see you in Florida next May. Stephanie Brown says, hi, Kyle. I'm sorry, hi, Scott. She wrote, hi, Scott, Kyle. So let me ask you about it's not where you started. What is the impetus for that? How did that begin?
Well, my kind of background, I think it's school and stuff. I've always, I would say I'm more as a show off at school than I was a performer or an actor of any kind. But I didn't go to college to study acting until I was 21. So although I did stuff at high school, I left high school and there was a 5-year gap before I returned to study theatre. And when I went into the college, I was I would say the worst student because I hadn't wrote an essay since at high school, 5 years before, and I didn't really know anything about the profession of acting. I knew how to stand up in a karaoke machine and sing a song at my football team's night out or my soccer team's night out. So yeah, I went in and I didn't know anything, and I worked very hard. While at college, I worked night shift. So I was working during the night filling the shelves in a local supermarket. So I would do four 10-hour shifts at night time. And in the morning, I would go to college on my moped, not my motorbike, on a moped, a little moped. I was getting very, very little sleep. And in the second year of my college, I realised that the third years were all graduating and they weren't working. So I met one of the guys who was a third year. And you can imagine at a performing arts school, the third years are the best. they're so wonderful performers, and they were all graduating, and you're thinking they're going to go into television and theatre shows and movies. And I met one of the boys that graduated in the street, and I said, "What are you doing?" Thinking he'd be saying I'm in the West End, or I'm doing this project, that project. And he said, "Scott, I'm working full time in Pizza Hut." And
wow.
my heart sank, because I thought, well, I'm next when I graduate. So I spoke to the college lecturers, and I said, how do we get onto the stage in Scotland? How do we get onto the big stages? Because if we're going to be students, we'll be least qualified. We're newly graduated. We're not going to be a big attraction for theatre companies to hire us. And they told me a wee bit about the process of a theatre company hiring actors. And then they told me a bit about how a theatre company gets to perform on the stages. And at that moment, I thought, I'll skip the audition process and I'll just become the theatre company. So while at college, I set up a theatre company. And we would take the productions we were doing as part of the college course, and we would take them on the road. So I was working night shift during the night. I was at college during the day, and at the weekends we were taking the shows we were making at college out to the theatres and touring the country. When I graduated, I was very blessed. I won 3 different awards at college: an entrepreneurship award, an outstanding student award for creating work for students who were already studying. I was creating jobs for them. So when I graduated, I went to my local library, and this is something out of a movie. I went to my local library, and I was looking for my next show to put on. And I went to the bookshelves. I picked up a play. It was about 2 football fans. I usually call it maybe soccer. Two rival football fans who had been arrested on the day of the big soccer match. So they're in a prison cell together. And I read it, and I thought it was fantastic. And I went home that night. I called up some of my friends from college. I said, come down and we'll read this. And I said, I want to put this on. The short version of that is we put it on in a local pub. We put it on in my college. And 5 years later, it was playing to 3,000 people a night at the SECC in Glasgow. It was grossing £50,000 a night. It took 3 million at the box office, and it's became Scottish theatre's greatest success story of recent times. And wow. that all came about. So if you take it from it's not where you start, I was the worst student. I didn't know anything. And I built the biggest show in Scotland of recent times without any funding, without any financial support. We'd put the backpacks on, Karen, my wife and I, and my family, and we'd go leafleting, putting the leaflets through all the local doors to try and fill the theatres, and it worked. So yeah, that's the idea behind It's Not Where You Start. And then from that, I got a job on The Angel's Share, which is a Ken Loach movie. It's about a whiskey heist. So if you get any whiskey fans out there, they might know about The Angel's Share. Is the whiskey that evaporates from the cask when it's open. So they call it The Angel's Share, and there's a movie about that. And that was my first movie, working with Ken Loach, who's been making movies, for 50 years. So it was a dream come true.
What are your plans? Are your plans to take a deep dive when we do open, whenever that is? Are you already beginning to entertain jobs or speaking engagements or charity events that are in the fall? What's your next 6 months look like?
The truth, if I'm being honest, is I don't know, and I'm okay with that. As I say, at the moment, I'm kind of trying to make the most of the situation we're in and enjoy it. I mean, I'm sure the movie will get made, so we'll be back filming. I'm confident the play that I was about young male suicide and mental health. So actually, if anything, it will be needed more after this because of the amount of people that will be challenged.
Sure.
So I'm keen on that. Obviously, we had our fling events, which we were going to be doing two in America, one in Canada. We've got one in Scotland in September, which I'm hopeful can go ahead if kind of things keep opening up as they seem to be. We're moving in the right direction, it seems. So we're still fingers crossed for that. But yeah, I'm enjoying where I am just now, and I'm not thinking too much about 6 months ahead. If I'm honest, I'm kind of enjoying the moment. I'm being very present, which is refreshing and
so important, right? I think that's one of the gifts of the whole reset, being present more often.
Mm-hmm.
We have a very vibrant arts community here. I'm in Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
And what kind of advice would you give? I had some people ask, because they obviously looked you up. That's why we do the promos. We tag, we want people to look you up. People asked, what kind of advice would you give somebody who's up and coming? You created your own path. which I think they can read if they read your bio and they look at what you've done and what you just talked about. But what kind of advice would you give a student who's either on the cusp of graduating or trying to break into shows? Is there any acting or artistic advice that you can give them?
There's a quote I like to say to everybody that asks that, and the quote is that infinite patience produces immediate results, and the quote essentially is that it's a long game, and if you trust the process, how I look at acting is the right jobs will find you. You don't need to worry, and what you don't want is chase the wrong jobs. You don't want to have a massive CV or lots of showreel material of movies you've done that you don't like. You never want to be looking and going, oh, why did I say yes to that movie? So in many ways, being patient, having that infinite patience, then when you get the results, they'll be at the right time for you. And the other thing I would say is don't be shy to create your own stuff. We live in the world now, obviously, with social media and stuff, that an audience of any size is an audience. And an audience of any size, therefore, is worthy of your time and your craft and your energy. So making your own stuff. Don't worry that if you've made a video and put it on social media that you've only got 100 likes. Don't look at the things you don't have. The same in a theatre show. I always say to young actors, if you look out into the theatre and the theatre's only half full, you look at the people that have came to see you. They deserve a fantastic show. They deserve all your energy and all your focus. Don't look at empty seats. They don't deserve your attention, the empty seats. It's the people in the seats and the people that are watching that deserve your full respect and your full attention. So
that's a beautiful way to look at it. That's a beautiful way to look at it. It's an abundance mindset. You're focusing on the people who are there celebrating you and not the people who aren't there. I think a lot of times it's difficult. The arts, obviously, in the States, the arts and nonprofits and restaurants, small businesses got really hit hard with COVID. What's your thought process, since you're a theater person as well, about Broadway reopening?
I think there's a huge opportunity here. You mentioned the word reset. There's a lot in the theatre and entertainment industry that doesn't work. There's a lot that doesn't serve the artists, the creative minds, the writers. There's a lot of things that they've got themselves into a kind of position where a very small percentage of the creative people are given the platform. And I think that the way forward, if we start with essentially a blank canvas, we're starting again. There's ways of opening up the theatres and having smaller spaces, doing more live streaming outside venues. Every space can be a platform for the performers, and every theatre that's got an audience can then support the performers who might be performing in the living room for the next 6 months or a year, who knows? But give those performers the platform. So one of the things I would like to see is I'd like to see the theatres open up and be broadcasting the shows live with no audience. I think things like that. I think there's certain aspects of it that we can continue with and we can keep to doing, and we're very creative. So that's it. You want the most creative minds and the can-do people to come up with a solution that suits everybody as best it can. But storytelling is part of life. It's how we learn. Just now, we're writing a new book. The coronavirus chapter in all our lives will be an incredible story to tell your next generation, whether it be your kids, your grandkids, kind of whatever generation of your family are coming along next. What a chapter you're going to have. I mean, to have lived through these challenging times, it's going to be an incredible story to be able to share. And you don't need in a theatre to do that, but it's nice if the theatres could open up the doors and let the actors and performers and singers and dancers do something from the stage. That's something I've thought about with my fling events, is that we could have a space where we still put on a show. And maybe there'll be audiences in the room, maybe there won't be, maybe there'll be smaller audiences. But at the moment, I'm not too desperate. I think we're okay to have a pause.
Yes.
I think it's okay to have a pause. And I think that's why I've not rushed to do interviews. I've not rushed to, even with social media, I chose purposely to not put a lot of content on it. I thought, let people have a breath. Let us have a breath. The world's been moving very quickly. It's nice to sit and look at the sky and there's no planes in it. It's nice to see the birds flying. It's nice to see the wildlife coming back to areas. It's nice for us to have this is the world just saying, just have a break just now. Just get close to your friends and family, stay home, and read, go for a cycle, do the things that you maybe have neglected. You know, we're going back to throughout history. You think cavemen and cavewomen would sit around a fire and share stories. We can do that. We can do that. But
I love the streaming part. I think the streaming part is so critical. It's forced the kind of antiquated way of watching a show or going to an event or going to a speaker event even, where you're paying to physically be present. I think there's a lot of opportunity there for us to enjoy a theater production from the comfort of our home, or to even create cool things like VIP one-on-ones remotely with, there's ways for it to have a positive impact on your audience and actually expand the audience. And it's not just for theater. It's not just for productions like that. It's also for things where we had the large gatherings in the group. So I agree. And I'd be remiss if I didn't share what Margie Hutchison said as co-organizer of the Canadian Fling. We're so looking forward to welcoming Scott Kyle and everyone back to Kingston, Ontario in 2021. So you obviously have a lot of love out there. You do a lot of charity work. Why?
People ask me, Ted. I'm a sucker. I don't like saying no. So people ask, and I say yes. So if I'm being honest, Ted, it's I've grew up in a working class home. My mum had 3 jobs. I've always worked as well as acting. I've always had another job, and it's probably that little bit in me of you. I don't like having gaps in my employment. I don't like going, whoa, I've not got a job for 3 months. So I've always had something else going on, and working with the various charities I do. I mean, we're taking 20 kids to Florida with us. You know, that it's an amazing project. They've raised £7,500 that needed to go. They're heading towards 10, but obviously with COVID, everything stopped. But we've now got another year to raise the rest of that money. We were bringing kids from France to Scotland to tour all the Scottish locations and let them see the castles. We did that last year as well. So I mean, we're only here for a short time, Ted, on the planet. So if you can do a few nice things and say yes, I'm very blessed. There's Margie in Canada. Now, Margie watched a TV show one day, and her and Debbie and Elaine then said, Scott, will you come to Canada and we'll do an event? And now we go to Canada every year, and we've met friends now. And that was because at some point they sat down and watched a TV show. And this is really important, and it touches on the theatre side of it again as well. I think moving forward, the industry will change, because I think the actors probably now realise more than they did before. I've always been a big champion of it, is that you need the audience. You don't matter without the audience. Without an audience, we aren't actors, we aren't storytellers. So I think like the theatres, what I would have in the future with the theatres is, after the show, the cast must come and have a drink with the audience. You must. That'd be part of the contract. You have to come out and have a drink with us. You know what I mean? Because we support you. And the thing that you chatted about is the one-on-one videos. Like, I'm not a big fan of VIP, if I'm honest, Ted. At the events I run, we don't have a VIP. Once you're in, you're equal, right? We don't have, you don't pay extra to get more autographs. You don't pay extra to get more photographs. None of that. We're having a party, right? And you can get as many selfies and as many autographs as you want, but we're in it together. I'm hoping that most people come and they go, sod an autograph, I want a drink with you. Do you know what I mean? Let's have a drink. Let's, let's share a story. So I think people are now, probably performers will realise, is that we need an audience. So you've got to respect that audience and take the time. Like social media, when people take the time to comment, I always make sure I like everything. You know, I read all the comments, make sure I've liked it. It's normally just to let people know that I've seen it. You know, I like to like something. So yeah, I think all that encompasses why I do things when people ask me, because it's hardly a hardship. I remember when the France project, the project in France, the school teacher, Laura, had contacted me and said, would I do a video chat with our kids? They were doing a project on Scotland and on the Highlands. And obviously, because of Outlander, she was a fan of the show and she wanted to chat about being a Highlander on the show. And I said, yeah, no worries. We did the Skype chat, and I'm terrible for this as well, Ted. Just before I signed off, I said to the kids, and I'll need to come and visit the school one day. every week I was getting an email from the kids. When are you coming? We've decorated the school. We can't wait to welcome you. And I said to my wife, Karen, we're going to France. And she says, what? I says, I've told the kids we'll go. So things like that. But now we've been going to France for the past 3 years. We're working with a group of amazing kids that have got additional support needs, an amazing school that offer facilities to support them. And when I went over there, I had a meal with Laura, the school teacher, in our house, and her husband. She took great pleasure when we were sitting eating a meal in our house of saying that her husband said he won't come. He's just being polite. Of course, he's going to say yes, I'll come. And his face went red, and he was a bit embarrassed. And he said, "Well, Scott," he said, "it's the same thing you said." He said, "Why did you?" And I said, "It wasn't a big hardship for my wife and I to jump on a plane and go to France, do a workshop, spend some time with the kids. It was not a hardship." And as I said before, there'll be other performers that will go through an amazing career, and they'll be probably even better storytellers than I am, and they won't get that recognition, and they won't have those opportunities. So who am I to turn them down? You know.
I love the spirit. I love your spirit. I think it's, first of all, your energy is contagious. But I love that, because I think a lot of people are caught in this, I want to help, but I don't know what to do. And so they remain paralyzed and don't do anything. And so for, the words that you're sharing, it's so true. It's like people have to look at it as not an inconvenience. It's a blessing to be able to do it. And that you get blessed. People don't believe me. They're like, how do you find time to do all of the stuff that you do? Well, you just find time. I don't know what the answer is to that, but you make the time, and I get paid back a millionfold over. And I'm not talking about finances. I'm talking about the things that the abundance approach gives me back: the world, the universe, faith, whatever you believe. And so I love what you're doing. I think it's critical for people to see somebody up there like you who is willing to go the extra mile, because if you can do it, they can do it. And I think that that's a big lesson.
I think, Ted, the other thing that's really important with it, you were asking about the advice for other people, is don't get fascinated on the end result. I don't worry about the end result. Like I didn't know when we went to France that we were going to have the kids over to Scotland each year, that they would be coming to the flings that I do. When I said yes to Margie and that about Canada, I had no idea it would become an annual event. We've been to America. We're going back to America. And the amazing thing with our flings is it doesn't matter if there's 10 people or 500 people. I'm happy to go, whether it's 10 or 5. We'll have a great night. Now, what happens is, if there's 10 of us, we'll probably go to a rooftop bar somewhere and get pissed. If there's 300 of us, we can organise a big band and we can put on a show and we can invite the kids along and do loads of different things. So, but I don't look at anything as a failure. I just look at it as a result, and I go, oh, that's interesting that there's 10 people coming. Oh, that's interesting that there's 300 coming. Let's put on as best a show we can for those people with the resources we have. That's it. So I don't sit and look at, oh, that one didn't have as many people. Maybe we're not as popular in that area. None of that. In the same way as I'm saying about the likes or the views, don't get fascinated on the outcome. Get passionate about the journey. Get passionate about the people you meet on the way. I mean, you said that about the rewards. I mean, the amount of people that sent us our Christmas card list is quadrupled because the amount of people that send us cards every year. I love looking at my wife's social media, and she puts up something. Maybe she's making a recipe. People are commenting and sending her suggestions. And the next night, I'm sitting in the house and I'm saying, "That was lovely. What was that?" And she's saying, "Someone posted me a recipe, so I made it." Like that's the amazing
awesome
thing. And that's what storytelling was about. It was bringing a community together. It was sharing stories to bring us together, to educate each other, to make each other feel good, to make each other reflect, to make each other have a wee cry every now and again. So that was what it was all about. We need to not forget that, because we've turned it into a business and an industry, and sometimes you can lose the magic when you're only thinking about the pounds. Does that make sense?
True. Yes. And before we head out, Margie says, again with the rooftop bar. I would definitely like to hang out with you at a rooftop bar. All right. So scottkyle.co.uk. That's his website. You can reach him. I've tagged him across the board on all social media. That was really awesome. I'm really honored that you took time out to come on the show, Scott. Thank you so much.
No worries. And I hope that we come to have a fling in your local area. We'll have
absolutely. Well, when you come next May, I live in Orlando.
Wow.
So I don't know what part of Florida you're coming from, but please, I would love to.
Okay.
To go to a rooftop bar. I know many.
All
right. Scott Kyle, thank you so much. You guys look him up. Obviously, don't bombard him too much. No, he doesn't obviously care. He's a good guy. Thank you so much, Scott, for being on the show.
No worries. Thanks for having me, Ted. Much love.
All right. We'll see you soon. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.